are back with the Raza BIPOC Access podcast. I am your co-host, Mark at Creative Logic, and we are here with the co-host,
Brother, you gotta roll that R first.
La Raza.
Ah! Bah, bah, bah. Yes. Spin El Poeta over here, One Mic Educators. Big episode today. We're closing out our project. Before I do the introductions, Mark, I want to thank you for your diligent work and all these beautiful podcasts we recorded. And we have a very special podcast, just bringing it all full circle. We got three deeply valued brothers of mine. We got El Uno repping Atlanta, gave me my first international feature in Decatur, and long brotherhood built off of random encounters in some small coffee shop in northern Toronto. And we'll get into it a bit more. We also got my brothers Dennis Amadeus and Curtis Davis of the legendary GrowHouse Tampa LLC that they built that we'll get into in a bit. Also multi-talented artists as well, all three of them. All three are solid organizers as well as amazing spoken word artists. Dennis also got Wolfgang Amadeus, which we'll get into in a bit. And then Curtis Davis, aka DJ Afro Blanco, who blessed us at the Movida, Mi Gente, Mi Pueblo, and is just awesome dudes all around. It's really been a pleasure for me to get to know the three of y'all. I was going to ask El Uno if you want to start, because we were the first connection, and then I'll turn it over to Dennis and Curtis, brother. But if you could just formally introduce yourself to our La Raza BIPOC Access audience, and just let them know who you is, what you does, and all of the good things.
Yes, my name is Lamar Taylor. On the poetry streets, I'm known as El Uno. Originally from the Bronx, but I live in Atlanta. I've been here roughly 18 years now. Started poetry here in Atlanta about 12 years ago at the famous Apache Cafe. And yeah, it's just been a journey as far as writing and sharing this art. I'm not sure about anybody else, but initially when I got involved in poetry, it was right after a divorce, and was just trying to find a way to be able to get some of my feelings out. I've always been a writer, but never, delved into the arts of poetry, and started writing and just felt the need that the words couldn't stay on the page; it had to be shared. So I started going out and performing at open mics, and just really started, gain some traction being here in Atlanta, and had an opportunity to go to Canada for work back in, I think it was 2016, 2017, and went to what happened to be a slam. I didn't even know it was a slam, but I went to a slam and signed up, and it happened to be my first slam, and that's why I met Spin. And like he likes to say, he was the only brown faces in the room. So we naturally gravitated towards each other. He's a giant, and I'm David in the sense. So yeah, so yeah, we connected, and just really stayed connected even after leaving Toronto, and in our conversations, I had an opportunity out here in Atlanta. I was hosting a open mic called The Elements at Artistry Live Decatur, and gave him an invite, and he came out here and killed it. And we've just been creating opportunities for each other since from the time he and I connected. So definitely happy to be here in this space and link with everyone. Looking forward to growing. But yeah, man, it's just been an honor and a joy to be able to be connected with the brother Spin.
My brother, I appreciate you, man. And you went to Ghana as well. You want to share about that trip?
Yeah. So, man, that's so a lot of things that I will say here. I always talk about like just showing up. A lot of times for me, I'm not always enthusiastic about sharing the art. I always have to kind of push my way through it. But when I do, great things always happen. So I traveled to Washington D.C. Last year on New Year's Day and went out and performed at an open mic. And I actually met a young lady there from St. Louis, another dope, phenomenal poet by the name of T Spirit. After getting off the stage and at the end of the night, she and I connected, and she just flat out asked me, do you want to go to Africa? And I was like, wow. In that moment, when somebody, something like that is given, an opportunity like that is given, I couldn't say no. I really didn't have the means of figuring out how I was going to get there, but I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take advantage of this, and was able to go out there and connected with another dope poet who actually set up the trip. A young lady by the name of Masterpiece, out of Dallas. I know she does a lot of slam poetry as well. But she took a group of poets, myself included, a great poet in Atlanta by way of New York City by the name of Mishi Madonna was also there. Mo Poetry out of Cincinnati. We all linked and ended up going to Ghana for a life changing, life altering trip. And not only were we there for the opportunity of being able to see um, the motherland and be immersed in getting back connected to our roots, but we were also able to, perform our art there as well, which, like I said, that was an experience in and of itself. So, and we did that particular trip in November, and I believe we're planning on going back in 2026, and this trip is available to all people who are looking to travel, especially poets. So you can, if you it is something that you're interested in, of course you can connect with me, but you can also connect directly with the curator of the event, Masterpiece. She's also on Instagram and so on and so forth. So yeah, definitely looking forward to connecting, reconnecting with other poets there. I would employ anybody to make that trip, for obvious reasons, but just to be able to have that experience, it was definitely great.
Word, word. I appreciate you, sir. I do want to turn it over to my brothers Dennis and Curtis. And at the start of this whole project, I had this vision of going down to Tampa, trying out for the team that they have put together. And as we went along executing this project, I ended up making the team, and I was blessed to be able to travel. I would like to ask these brothers to introduce themselves now, because they're phenomenal poets, seasoned veterans. They introduced me to the Southern Fried Poetry Slam, which is some of the most amazing slam poetry I've ever seen in my life. And I'm gonna ask. I always joke to my queen that Curtis always be smiling at us like a proud dad, always very quiet, but he always had this like quiet smile on his face. So, Curtis, brother, if you want to introduce yourself to the audience, and then we'll get Dennis on board after.
Yeah, my name is Curtis David. Sorry, I got my kid here. He's hitting the camera now. My name is Curtis Davis. I am a poet, a father, a curator, DJ, many things. I'm all around creative, who loves to see other creatives flourish and loves to provide spaces for that to happen. Um, I love seeing other artists experience some of the same amazing moments that I've experienced in my own career. And so I founded GrowHouse and started putting on a bunch of different events for artists in our community here in Tampa. Originally, the concept for GrowHouse was just to take the elements of slam poetry and apply them to other art forms. So just doing competitions with other mediums of art. And then it's now grown into, after bringing in my brother Dennis here very early on, I brought him in and asked him to help build it with me. And after bringing him in, everything changed. We hit the ground running, and we've now built a whole community post COVID. Everything kind of like was dead, and so we kind of really rebuilt the Tampa Bay poetry community um, after COVID, and since then have now we have like a really strong community of artists who are now uh, hosting their own monthly open mics and are now slamming on teams and publishing books and things like that. So really proud of the work we've done, and thankful to have been a part of it as well. But yeah, that's me.
And tell us about DJ Afro Blanco, man. You got to bless us at Mi Gente Mi Pueblo for that Movida event last year with the DJing and
Hmm.
participate in that event. And yeah, talk a bit about the DJing side of your life, man, and how that experience was for you.
Yeah, well, firstly, shout out to you for helping me out on that event, because I definitely needed it. But yeah, so I've been DJing for about a year and a half. I actually started because the DJ that we used for GrowHouse's shows, he ended up moving to California, and we basically couldn't afford to hire regular DJs, and I've always wanted to do it. And I like pseudo DJ'd in the past, using like Spotify playlists and stuff like that. And I would always have people coming up to me asking me, "Yo, what song? Yo, what is this? Send me this. What are you playing?" And so I really enjoyed like that feeling of putting people on to new music, and then also the feeling of being able to um, control the energy in the room of the events that I've curated and that I'm a part of, because music is a huge part of that, and so being able to in moments of like if someone goes up and performs and it's like a really sad poem, being able to kind of lift the audience back up with the higher energy poem, and it's like it's just a whole nother art form in itself of being able to control the energy in the room, just in the same way that I'm able to control the energy in the room when I'm on the stage performing as a poet. It's just like in a different way, and I'm able to do it throughout the whole night and with music that I love. So yeah, I started DJing for Grow House events, and that has obviously snowballed into like DJing for other, my homies' events who also do stuff in the community, and then gotten opportunities to do things like the Mi Gente Mi Pueblo event that Spin was a part of. And that event was crazy because that was the first like Latin event that I've done, and even though I am mixed with Puerto Rican, unfortunately, I'm not super connected to those roots, and I don't speak Spanish at all. So I had reached out to Spin to give me some recommendations, some a playlist of some music that I could play. And he actually encouraged me to do the event because um, at first, when he reached out to me about it, I was like, I don't know, this is a lot of pressure, and they were paying me a decent amount of money too. So when people are paying money, I know what it means to like put money in to pay for a service when you're putting on a show or an event. And so I definitely will always want to do a good job when I'm providing that service. And so but it ended up turning out really well. He was like, "Yo, no, you got this. Don't worry about it. It'll be all good." And it ended up being a really enlightening event for me. Um, and one of those events that like just affirmed me in my DJing abilities, and to continue on like doing bigger and better events. Because I'm just a guy that loves music, and I love like a lot of music that people don't really know. And so now I'm having to learn like all the popular music that everybody listens to, and like what's the hits and what's the good stuff, the dance, what gets people moving and grooving and stuff like that. So, but it's a fun journey, and it's also very lucrative as well. It's actually made me a little bit more money probably than I have made in poetry. Um, but but yeah, I really enjoy it, and I'm excited to see like what the future holds with my DJing, and DJing part of the band with Dennis is a fun experience as well.
Word. Appreciate you, brother. You crushed it. We loved you. Mi gente, mi pueblo. We definitely gonna have you back. And I
Thank
think
you,
that's
man.
a beautiful segue for my other brother, Dennis Amadeus, also Wolfgang Amadeus. And Dennis and I got to bond a lot on the journey with the Slam team and Southern Fried. And I deeply respect you, brother, you know, as a poet, as a brother, as a friend. And I love seeing your band posts, man. So please introduce yourself to the world and let us know all your multifaceted artistic blessings.
Well, man, my name is Dennis Amadeus. I'm a spoken word poet, mostly through that's what I have the most experience in. I am in the band now, leading Wolfgang Amadeus with a U, but yeah. So other than that, yeah, I do organizing. I guess some would consider certain, I wouldn't say active, but more education based, teaching based, working in the community in places that I can, and an advocate more than activist. I'm more of an advocate for local arts, for artists pushing themselves to be better, helping artists find ways to make themselves valuable, so that they can get paid for their craft, helping them understand, that part of the game as well, and without losing the craft in that, right, in the business, and yeah, man, and that's what GrowHouse was about. And I mean, I started doing poetry in 2012. It was a point in my time when I had failed no, I didn't fail, but I wasn't able to finish my college that I was at. I came down here for, and years later, like recently, in the last couple of years, it was that got proven to be a predatory loan school. So all the debt I have from that school is gone. But at the time, I wasn't able to finish my last year, and so I didn't know what to do. I couldn't go back to New York, right? You know what I'm saying? I was like, I came down here to go to school to try and change my life or whatever. That didn't work out. So one thing led to another, and I ended up doing open mics and poetry, and I found Poetry Slam, and my first slam, I heard you could win money, and I memorized like a couple poems I'd written in like a creative writing class. I won my first slam that I ever competed in, and then the impact I got from the community was so. I had never felt that way about anything in my life, right? Like the most passionate thing I had up until that time was basketball, and as much as I love basketball, I'm not physically gifted. It didn't start early enough and put in the time to be good enough to take it anywhere other than street ball courts. And so that was poetry, and the slam was the first time where I felt like I was really naturally good at something in a way where I didn't have to work so hard just to be like mediocre with basketball. You know what I mean? And so I would just dove all in. I didn't have, I didn't have no career path. I didn't have school no more at that time. So it gave me free reign to just dive all in. And I studied poetry. I mean, I studied poetry. I studied religion. I studied philosophy. Like that, that changed so much for me, man. I was super. That's where I read all my books about the Black Panthers. I got really into Cornell West. That's where I started learning about all like social justice stuff. All that energy and fervor was all tied together in this new passion I had found, and so I was able to really. And for the next 2 years, I wrote every single day of my life. I wrote or edited poems, and I performed like 3, 4 times at open mics or slams or whatever I could, and I managed to forge a career out of it, man. And even with all the criminal records and all the stuff I had, I was able to build a life. Eventually, I got into doing workshops and teaching young people and becoming a mentor and an educator through the poetry and stuff like that, and through my genuine search for God and all that together. And not to make this too long winded, but that's kind of how I got into everything. And yeah, and just I feel very blessed and lucky, and when I look at the life that I have now, I'm very proud of myself. I'm not super rich or nothing, but I've literally created my own life off of my own abilities. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's something to be proud of, man. So yeah, and now I'm in a band, and the band is something honestly which I wish I started earlier. You know what I'm saying? But I was so afraid to leave poetry because I had built such a lane in poetry. I'm the poet in Tampa, and I was, you know what I'm saying, I was traveling, and people knew me, and the top poets in the world I was hanging out with at shows, and you know what I'm saying. I'm like feeling like I'm the jam, and and so it's hard. But I always wrote songs. I wrote songs, and Curtis will tell you, even before the band, I would just send him random shit that I wrote randomly all the time, and but I was sitting on all these songs, and so I went once I met a guitarist. We started the band and everything like that, and then that was how that got that how that that's how that kind of took off. We started writing songs. I met Denny and Austin and all of that stuff. And I don't want to get too long winded, so I don't want to get into all that stuff. But we started the band, and now I'm just. It feels like that same energy I got when I first started poetry. Now, even at 37, I have that new energy for art creation for the band. You know what I mean? Like I love performing with the band. I love writing music. I love practicing. I love being in that space in the same way that it was with poetry before. You know.
I'm gonna turn it over to Mark. So this whole podcast that we do is really around the business aspects of art as well, and I deeply respect all of y'all in your organizing capacities. So Mark is avid business connoisseur, and he supported a lot of artists and that we've interviewed along the way. But if you want to jump in with a question there, Mark?
I kind of wanted to get a little bit more info on, like, how do you find the organizing that you do with your organizations? How does that help you kind of like create these opportunities and platforms for other artists?
You get to make connections with like people in venues, and you get it's like a you're like making a funnel, right? You're bringing their art to a different, a bigger audience. You're the connection that you're able to make with venues and with people that throw festivals or people that are looking to pay artists, but they don't know, they don't have the pool of trusted artists, right? Because I'm sure they could find any poet, but can they find a poet that's going to actually help advance the thing that they're throwing? Because that's what people are thinking of. If we're going to pay for a poet with no name, right, who's not going to bring people into the door, are they going to be at least able to make our festival look better, right? Are people going to come in here and be like, wow, that poet was amazing. What a great part of the festival. Like, that's what people are paying for. And so being able to have connections to people who are looking for that makes it easy. You know what I mean? Like, we were able to get a bunch of poets published in the local Creative Loafing newspaper, which is a popular arts journal. You know what I mean? And a lot of those poets are the first time being published and stuff like that, right? And that just connection came through knowing the one of the writers at Creative Loafing, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. And so
Yeah.
it's those kind of things when you're in the community, when you do stuff for the community and people like what you're doing in the community, they're more willing to offer their resources when you become trusted that you have quality art and that you're a good person and you're doing it for the right reasons. You know what I mean?
I was gonna say one thing that we really believe in is like genuine, true collaboration with other organizations. And like when I say like genuine, true, like I mean like we really come into with like no like we really want to like just build with you. We're not trying to compete. We're not trying to like steal none of your people or anything like that. We're trying to like build with you for the betterment of the community. And I think a lot of people don't really like understand like how to truly collaborate in that way. And so I think we just successfully are able to like make build those relationships, and then in turn it like leads to opportunities that we can hand over to people in our community.
Yeah, yeah.
One thing, Curtis, I was curious about is what prompted you to start an LLC? Like a lot of people just kind of start a series or just kind of run it any which way, but you guys formalized GrowHouse Tampa as an LLC. What was the idea behind doing it that way as opposed to just like a regular, series?
I would say, to be the truthful answer is I would say ignorance and not knowing like business, and wanting to like build something for myself, and like try to make grow house like legitimize it basically in a way. But years later, like I've realized that the LLC is like doesn't necessarily legitimize anything. It's just paperwork, basically
And
at the end of the
taxes.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I was younger then, and I was, trying to really make moves and try to get into the business lane, like become more business minded, and wanting to work for myself. Our ultimate goal with Grow House, um, at its like base root, is to like have our own sorry, to have our own venue space, where we can like host all of our events, and then also provide a space for other people in our community to use and things like that. And so that was kind of like the inspiration behind forming the LLC, to try to get on that track, and become, like I said, become more business minded. Me and Dennis went to like business classes that the city provided and everything, just trying to learn more about it, and just trying to do things in what I believe to be the right way.
Mhm.
Word, word. And that's your baby. What's your baby's name, Curtis?
This is Jasper.
Jasper. That's Jasper, everybody. If y'all hearing the baby
Yes,
crying, Curtis also a
Mm.
proud father. So we gonna keep the baby in there, no post production. Jasper's gonna be a part of the podcast.
Let's go, Jack.
I think you're gonna ask a question. Did I interrupt?
I was going to say that a lot of what you guys shared with us sounds like networking, as well as building up social credibility and bringing value to your partners, is kind of one of the keystones of how you guys have been able to grow what you're doing and legitimize what you're doing. I wanted to see if you could touch a bit more too on, because I know you talked about like the LLC, and for maybe there's some people who are listening right now who might not be familiar with what an LLC or limited liability corporation is. Can you talk a bit about maybe some of the advantages that you found by doing the LLC, even if it's just literally the limited liability to your personal self by being able to do something through a separate entity that's a corporation?
Um, I think some of the advantages were like Curtis said. There's a legitimacy that comes with it. People take you when you're a business like that. I think people take you a little bit more serious, and you're able to um, market yourself in a specific way. But I also think that it helped us get more organized because we needed to get our stuff together with taxes. We really came. It was more through trial and error that we came up with a really what I think was a pretty good system of tracking our expenses. The P&L statements, the understanding what is taxed, what isn't taxed,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, and really understanding. I mean, part of we actually disbanded the LLC, and that's not permanently, but because we came to understand the reason that you have an LLC is when you have you need, for a way to track and
Profit.
offset costs for specific consistent income. And while we were doing shows and we were doing selling tickets, we weren't doing things that should have been that could have been more consistent as far as marketing, selling merch, getting an online presence where we can sell advertising space, those kind of things. And so now we're paying taxes and we have this overhead for things where we are operating as a great arts collective, right? But we're not operating as a business entity and structure. And so we just needed to take a step back. And so we were like, all right, because you can always get an LLC back even if you know what I mean, it's still kind of there, but it's just you won't be getting taxed and having to pay all the fees and stuff on it. And so, but we actually had a good conversation last night, I think, about where we wanted to go in the future. But it helped us learn. It helped us learn the value of like why you should have an LLC, how you should operate as a business. I mean, what's important to keep track of. And at the end of the day, that if you're going to have a business, you need to make sure that you have a good income. You know what I mean? Like you have a consistent income. Understand that it's something that you need to have. You gotta make it work, and you gotta make it make sense. Otherwise, you're going to be spending a lot of money just to say I have a business. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. And I wanted to see if we can tap into El Uno, you as well, talking a bit about what you find the keys are for yourself with your organizing in the legendary Decatur, and how you find that that's like, what do you find has been the items that you've used or the strategies that you've put together that's helped you to grow the most?
Yeah, and I mean, even with the LLC too, that's the interesting thing because I think, and to kind of touch on that, I know I started mine, Building Talk Enterprises, just simply because um, of just wanting to legitimize my business as well. I think and a lot of things that I've done is just simply not necessarily being ready for it, but knowing that it's something that's going to have to come down the line. So might as well just go ahead and start the process now. Um, and I think that's exactly how the whole situation with even Artistry Live Decatur came about. My team and I, we had set up an event prior to that, where we helped a business, minority-owned business, gain more sales through our event, through a poetry event. And a lot of the local artists actually came through on the humbug, through love, and help initiate that particular project, which launched or gave me the opportunity to do Artistry Live Decatur. And that simply just came about through a lot of what we're talking about here, just networking and being out in the public and just connecting with people on the grassroots level. Like, no, nothing, underhanded, nothing, just out of the love of poetry and spoken word and for what we do. And in doing that, man, we were able to get a lot of artists from around the country, even like I said, even Spin coming down from Canada and connecting with us. We had a long running opportunity there. We were actually there for almost 12 months. Unfortunately, the business themselves were going through hardship, so the venue closed. But we now have pivoted to another opportunity that we have here in Atlanta, at a spot called Pizza Vidura. It is a vegan-owned pizzeria, co-owned by two chains, and we've partnered up with the owners there to bring poetry to their space to help build and grow their business as well, because everything is collaboration, right? Like, one hand washes the other. So like, I think, like Dennis mentioned, you want to be able to utilize the art, and allow these businesses to see how poetry and spoken word can help enhance their business. And one of the things that I want to be able to do is, God willing, take it to a corporate level, and utilize the art of poetry to help build these brands and build these other, not only our businesses, but also collaborate with those other corporations to help build that as well. So um, everything is just simply, for me, just being authentic, being myself, and connecting with the people, like-minded people, and like you said, just finding ways to be able to collaborate and build and help grow this art, because that's the main thing, help pushing the art.
One thing I'd love for you to touch on as well too, because there may be some people out there who are trying to grow. They have great art, but don't really know how to get it out there and how to create those collaborations. What do you do when you go into that first initial pitch? Like, what is it that you tell people that brings them or allows them to see the picture of the value that the art and the spoken word can bring to their business?
One of the things I try to mention, and that's a very good question, just being able to see that poetry is something that connects. Like, we poets and spoken artists, we're able to utilize our words to convey messages that the layman, or someone who doesn't do poetry, we're able to bridge that gap. You know what I'm saying? So that's the main thing. Like, just saying, like, this particular art form has been here from the very beginning of time. It's only evolved, and we utilize this art to be able to convey these messages that everybody are thinking. So that's kind of the main thing, and helping to bridge that gaps allows them to give us a listening ear to say, okay, well, how then, yeah, show me how you're able to connect the dots. And God, I've been thankful to have these opportunities with the team that I work with. Like I mentioned earlier, one of my great business partners, Mishi Madonna, she's helped me tremendously, just be able to have these conversations, because it's not always just you. You have to have a team. You have to have somebody that's also able to work when you're not able to to do some of the things that they are. You find these strengths in someone else. So yeah, but like I said, I think that's the main thing, just being able to tell them how poetry is able to bridge those gaps.
I think something else that I've learned that's really big is tracking your numbers. like documenting how many people came out to your past events, how well your past events have done, and being able to bring business owners like actual numbers that reflect like how you can add to their business, because that's something that we had a bunch of great shows but had no way to prove to these business owners that we have the ability to do it other than just like pictures and stuff. So
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
documenting all your numbers and stuff is really important.
And I'm
Definitely.
glad you mentioned that too, because that's something that we were able to do. With the last three businesses that we work with, we were able to get them to give us testimonials, send letterheads, and give us that information as well.
Right.
So, like you said, this shows proven track record of what you've been able to do in the past and how you've helped elevate their businesses.
Yeah, for sure.
Where I want to take a
Mhm.
moment to give y'all your flowers, man, because all three of y'all helped me live all my dreams. And a lot of poets up in Canada, they, you know, the poetry in the States is head and shoulders above a whole other level. There's great poets in Canada, don't get me wrong, but I think as a national entity, you're not going to see on a national level in Canada the caliber that we saw, like at Southern Fried, or even with the feature El Uno that you got me in Decatur. I mean, you had Talam AC there. Like he was one of my big inspirations when I started slamming. Mario Reyes was dope. So, firstly, I want to thank you, brother, because I'll never forget. I was hooping in LA Fitness and I seen your posts. And I'm like, yo, is this brother in Georgia? Like, I'm just next door in Florida right now. And I called you,
Yeah.
and the stars aligned for me to be able to stop by on my way back to Toronto. So I want to throw it to first. Thank you for that opportunity, brother. Will always be in my heart. And I wanted to ask you, what was it like, for you in Decatur, having this big ass Guatemalan dude hop on the stage down there for this audience, and what advice would you give to other artists, north of the border that want to start making a presence in the U.S.?
Oh man. First answer, it was great seeing you, man. It was great to have you. Like I said, I respect your art. I know the caliber of artist that you are, so I was honored to be able to introduce you to a different audience. Um, that was the main thing, man. And I mean, as far as anybody, as far as any post anywhere, man. My main thing is, like I said, man, you just got to connect. Find common ground with someone, um, and just make sure if you have common ground with them, reach out and have those conversations. It doesn't have to necessarily be on, I'm trying to get down here, or to, because sometimes I guess I'm pretty sure everybody here gets those DMs from people that's just trying to get opportunities out of you. Um, but yeah, I mean, you want to be able to have a connection with somebody. So if you find somebody that you have a connection with, a genuine connection with, just have, just stay in contact, because you never know that person that you may have met, at an open mic, or years past, how that can impact you down the line. And everything doesn't have to be a today or tomorrow type thing. It's all a long game, and just be genuinely you, man. Everything that's meant for you is going to happen. So I'm very big on that. Like, I'm not in it for, I love the art. Whatever is for me, man. And whatever's for you is for you. But if you come into it genuinely, and you open your heart to other individuals, the people that need to find you will.
Bro,
Mm.
I love that. That's real talk.
Yeah, man. So I want to thank you, brother. I want to turn it over to Curtis and Dennis. So I don't know if I ever told y'all, but I think my queen, shout out to Suleka, had sent me a post that you guys is doing a call out for a slam team at GrowHouse. I hadn't been there at that point. Only poet I knew was Rebel Poet. Shout out to her. Um, and I seen the post about this orientation for the slam team, and I was planning to be in Florida for a minute. And like I said, I always dreamed of just establishing myself and building a presence in the US. So I said, fuck it, let me go check this out. Like I'm kind of over the slam scene in Canada, as I've said many times. It just fucking imploded basically out here because a lot of toxicity. So I got down to y'all's orientation, and I was just really moved by like the genuine spirit that y'all were putting into it. It wasn't just like another slam or another competition there, and so I committed to joining, and it was such a beautiful journey. I just put in a grant for professional development with Eccentric. So thank you, Dennis, for making that connection with her at Southern Fried. Um, but yeah, I wanted to ask you guys, what were y'all thinking? You seen this big ass Guatemalan dude walking into the orientation, coming out to the slams,
Yeah,
and
man.
how has it been ever since?
I mean, for on my end, like, we're real big on local, pushing local talent. And so whenever there's people who come in from somewhere else, we're always, a little like, all right, what's going on here? And then on top of that, you were coming out and winning all of our shit that we were doing. So that's another layer of like, this guy is gonna come from Canada, start winning all our slams. But no, I mean, I immediately, I think I can speak for Dennis too in this. I think we immediately recognize like that, you were a real one, and you've put a lot of work behind it. And like when you show up, and like you immediately like gained our respect. I feel like. What about you, Dennis?
Yeah, you were super genuine. I think that was the first thing. I mean, honestly, also on the other side though, what Curtis says is real. It's always like what's going on with the out of towners, but it was also refreshing, when you work with a lot of new artists, new poets. You're trying to help them find their voice, you're trying to help them get to a place. You kind of came in, you already were established with your voice, who you are, what you were talking about. And so just as a fan of poetry, it was really refreshing to have that energy. And I think you also help push people's games up, because we didn't have a lot of the big poets that can slam really well in Tampa. They don't do it no more, you know what I'm saying? So we didn't have a lot of like really seasoned poets, slam poets, for them to gauge themselves against. They were just gauging themselves against each other. And so you were able to bring that in, and I appreciated that a lot as well. But yeah, you were really genuine, man. I think you're good at networking. You put, what I'm saying. I think you talk to people real well, and so it was cool, man. You know what I'm saying?
Word, and El Uno made a real good point around like just getting your DMs, flooded with requests or whatnot, versus like building the genuine connection. And then Curtis talked about it. I mean, Tampa Bay is a beautiful city, so I could see why you got out of towners. But you had a brother in from Barbados trying for the team. Um, what advice would y'all give, for GrowHouse for people coming in from out of town? And also on that same note, I want to thank you guys for hosting Amani Arts and Amoya Ray at the Grand Slam. Would love to know how y'all felt about their presence down there, and then any advice for other people that want to kind of build a relationship or a presence with y'all.
I'll let Curtis talk about the artist, because I think I had I wasn't in town.
You had an event that day.
Yeah, I was doing something else, but I think, yeah, I mean, obviously we don't, the reason our eyes go up if an out of towner that comes in and starts doing real well is because we want our money to go locally, but obviously we want the talent, and we want the what I mean, the diversity of voices we want that in our city, because that only helps artists grow and poets grow. And so I would just say, come through, man. Come through, be your authentic self, like El Uno said, man. Be your natural self, be your authentic self. um I think sometimes people come in, and sometimes they're semi-talented, but if you come in and you're just like, oh, I'm gonna dominate this space today. I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna show these campaignians what we're all about. Like, all right, like you can go up there and you can maybe be better than everybody, but that energy is gonna be felt, and people are gonna be like, okay, whatever, bro. Like, good job. You did really good for 4 minutes at a random open mic in Tampa. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so I think just come in with the humbleness, like, again, like the people that are putting on shows, the people that are putting on events, the people that have the influence and abilities, they're looking for things that enhance the show, right? Things that make everybody better, comfortable, make it, you know what I mean? So come with the idea that how can I make this show or this space better with my art, rather than how can I be the best one here? And you're gonna go miles. You're gonna go miles. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's solid advice, man. Yeah, Curtis, man, let me know how was it with Amoya Ray and Amani Arts at
No,
the
yeah,
Grand Slam.
it was super dope to have them here. They actually featured at our one of our big slams, and I think it's like super important for the members of our community to be able to witness poets like them, who have like stories that are vastly different. I feel like than um, anybody who like would perform here. And
Mm.
so I think it definitely like exposed our poets and our audience members to another side, that's very important to like to see. And just like Dennis was mentioning, like with them being able to have you come into the fold and like push them, and exposing them to something new. I think the same thing happened when the lovely ladies came to feature for us. I think it just the more exposure to different stories and different people from all different walks of life, um, not only like with different stories, but who are also like really, really good at their craft is an important thing too. And they 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 both gave incredible, like impactful performances that I think really stuck with our audience and was a great way to kick off our slam for sure.
So I did have some good news for y'all, and then I also wanted to toss a question to Mark. I actually got approved for a residency to go live in Florida for 3 months on the Canada
Hey,
Council, and
So
Come
as part of that, I'll be
through.
able to like offer workshops and whatnot. It's all covered from the Canada Council. So
Okay.
if y'all
congratulations.
need anything, I'll be more than happy to come through on the string. And I also got
so
funding from a Raza Open Mic Series. So I definitely want to get y'all to Toronto when I'm there, which might be later in the year because I got to do the residency.
All right.
Um, so I definitely want to have y'all. And as part of the residency, Curtis, I got your funding for DJ Afro Blanco to come back to Movida. So clear your schedule
Hey,
because we
let's
so
do
definitely
it.
want you back there, DJ.
Thank you, bro.
And no, for sure, man. I love you guys, and a lot of this wouldn't have been possible without y'all. Each three of y'all. And I wanted to toss it to Mark around, like, because Mark's had all kind of experience managing artists and whatnot. And I personally do think, as far as poetry, a lot of poets in Canada pigeonhole themselves in the sense that they don't really leave the city or the country. Maybe they leave the city but not the country. So what would you say, Mark, from your perspective, is the benefit for artists to try to push? I mean, what we have on the screen today were just initially random encounters that manifested into beautiful friendships and incredibly life changing opportunities for me, and hopefully for them. But what would you say to the grassroots artist in Canada that maybe wants to try, doesn't know, maybe doesn't even think it's worth it? I mean, I had to put a lot of money to, make it or travel between Toronto and Tampa to make the slams, but I ended up competing on a national slam and I got in another grant with an incredible festival director. This is me personally, but what would you say in your experience, managing artists and whatnot, is the value to make these investments?
For me, I think it's really about connecting with new audiences and kind of going through that marketing funnel. So building awareness, having people start to engage with you, consider kind of supporting you monetarily, whether that's buying your art, buying your merch, etc. And then really getting that conversion and then having a way to remarket back to that person. And I think that a lot of the people on that call, that probably resonates with you because you've all built audiences within your areas. And then you're able to then travel and tap into the audiences that other people are curating or influencing within their areas. And at the end of the day, that just grows a bigger audience for yourself. So I always, when I talk to artists, one of my main things is, to me, it's not about having 1 million fans or having 100,000 fans. If you have 1,000 fans and those 1,000 people are willing to spend $10 a month with you, that's $120 a year. And now you're making $120,000 a year if you times that by 1,000 people. So if you're able to capture 500 people within your local area, but then you're able to gather 100 fans in Decatur, 100 fans in Tampa, 100 fans somewhere in Chicago, like that could be how you get to that 1,000. And now these people, when they're going to spread and they're going to talk to other people about you, they're introducing you to different locales as opposed to it all being in your one local community. So to me, it's kind of always about growing that audience and documenting that audience, kind of like what they touched on earlier in terms of documenting the events they were doing, because it's really about case studies. And it's about being able to give people references and being able to show them that there's an audience that you influence and that you're going to be able to influence in a way that it brings value to your partners. And I wanted to kind of tap on that with everybody in here. Like, does that resonate with you? Have you kind of gone through that process of building your audiences, and how did you build your audience up to a point where you could reach out to Spin, for example, and bring him to have that valuable travel and that ability to spread his art to a new audience?
Yeah, man. I think what you say is spot on. You know what I mean? I love the way sometimes I had the same when I first started learning poetry terms, right? Like I always knew, because my mom read to me and I understood literature and stories, like I knew some of these things, how to do them, but I didn't know what they were called. So like, oh, that's what a metaphor is when you do that. And yeah, you know, what I mean, you
Yeah.
recognize. I'm like, oh, they call that you know what I'm saying? They call that a personification when I turn this into a human being, right? I feel like that's what I just got from you, right? It's like you just like put to words what for me is instinctively the driving force of how to be successful in what we're trying to do, right? And but it goes all the way back to those first few steps. Those first few steps have to build value for the rest to get there, right? So you have to set yourself apart. You have to be able to and you have to be better than kind of you have to be the cream of the crop, because that's what brings the audience. That's what makes them want to pay attention. That's what even like, for example, I'm wearing my Ask Me to Do a Poem shirt, right? Um, I have an Ask Me to Do a Poem shirt. That was one of my best marketing tools I ever created for myself, right? Because I walked around, people in a general sense don't know how good poetry can be, right? Majority of people, I will say 80, like a big majority, I would say 80, and that's probably being conservative. 80% of people don't know how good poetry actually can be, right? And so they see me with this shirt, they get curious. Most of them are like, oh, let's hear this stupid shit, right? When they come up to me, and then boom, I'm nice. And then they go, oh, wow, I didn't even know that existed, right? And so, boom, now that brings them to that point that you were talking about, where like now they're like intrigued and pulled in, right? And then, boom, now, well, come out to a show. Oh, dang. Wow, not only is this amazing, I feel like I want to express myself now. And there's safe spaces, there's access, there's no barriers of entry for somebody who would be like, I want to come in. Now we have like, well, we got workshops. We got, oh, you don't want to pay? We got free workshops. We do once a month. You can come check this out first and see if it's valuable to you. Then we got paid workshops with professional poets. And then we have open mics. And on top of that, you get good enough, we'll start paying you at other shows that we do with other community partners. You know what I'm saying? So there's a funnel that goes all the way up, right? And now the other side of that, that's where our business structure was hurt, because we did that really well. We were really good at finding artists, people who might have wanted to be artists, getting them on that track, getting them to commit to their craft, coming to the workshops, coming to open mic. We did that really good. What we didn't do uh is what do you call that? The resale thing, the last one, right?
Yeah, the
Reselling.
remarketing.
Say it again.
The remarketing.
Yeah, the remarketing. That's where we really failed, because we weren't using our poetry to now help sell product to an audience who doesn't want to be artists but just wants to engage with the art form, right?
Yes.
We kind of didn't engage with that enough. And once we realized that, it makes everything bigger. Again, I'm not gonna try and. That's just kind of where we were at. I don't want to over talk and stuff, but so that's what I think hearing you say that. That's really where we messed up. Is like we were really good at all the other things, but to be sustainable, you have that remarketing, that getting them to not just buy once, but to buy in consistently is the key. But if you have a good product, that shouldn't be an issue. You just have to create the systems that allow them to do that. We didn't have those systems,
Definitely.
and we weren't putting the money in. Well, we weren't able. That's another thing. Startup capital. You really do need a startup capital if you want to run an LLC, because we were making money to put back in to cover our expenses, but we weren't making enough to grow. So we couldn't get more merch. We couldn't invest in the stuff needed to make the remarket valuable. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Yeah.
And to that, I would say there's some like tools nowadays that you can really utilize by like print on demand, for example.
Mhm.
So when creating merch, if you're selling it online, you provide your audience with a certain lead time for you to be able to deliver that product to them. But within that time, after you receive an order, it gives you the time to actually produce that item.
Right.
So instead of you having to essentially hold on to inventory and produce things where you're hoping that people are going to buy it, you're just producing it as they buy it.
Mhm.
And in that way, it's just a way for you to be able to generate revenue without having the liability of inventory.
Yeah, that's real. Yeah, and we needed to lucratize that stuff, but Curtis ended up having a baby. We attempted to democratize our business, and people, unfortunately, our crew, that's another thing me and Curtis talked about. And no disrespect to any. I love GrowHouse. I love the poets, but our group was all poets. It was all artists, right? And we needed social media. We needed videographers. We needed, somebody who could focus on merch, somebody who could focus on. And while me and Curtis did the heavy lifting of the paperwork, the taxes, and the communications and the networks within the city and stuff like that. And so, and so then we were just like, all right, well, we need to take a step back because at this point we're not garnering income, we're paying rent, we're paying taxes, and so we got to regroup. Again, we weren't giving up. Grow House is still out there, still do our open mics, still do our workshop, we're still present, but we're just not an LLC as of right now, until we can regroup, get those systems in place, figure out how we can do it right, and then we'll come back.
When I get down there, Dennis, I do got some resources. If y'all wanted to partner like on an open mic, and then I could take care of some of the features.
Mhm.
And it could be like a partnership with Mi Gente Mi Pueblo as well. Like they really got a lot of love for GrowHouse after meeting Curtis. So there's a lot that we can build on together. And you have something very special, man. All y'all have something very special. Like, I organize up here. It's not always packed. It's not always necessarily. Part of it is my own thing that I'm processing through with a therapist. We all have our growth areas, but y'all got something very, very special, man. Like I want to say that. And I also like an easy merch thing that I did was poster poems. When I got down to Decatur, I just got some poems, just run over to Staples and print them. My queen handled it. I didn't take a penny, and I'm on my best behavior with immigration laws and things. So I'm not taking a penny while I'm down there. But yeah, my queen had hustled those, and $10 a pop, 125 to print. Powerful message with poetry and a visual, and that's an easy win. So that's something I feel like y'all definitely should do. Then is just get your own poster poems. People want to take them home. I gifted them to the babies out here in the territory I'm in. But yeah, my bad, Luna. Were you gonna say something? Luna, you're gonna say something. I cut you.
Well, no, you didn't. But interesting when you mentioned the poetry the poetry poem, the poetry posters. I got that idea from you, and I utilized that at a feature. But I did want to mention I know Mark had touched on like the print on demand. I had a good mentor who suggested something to me, which I don't know if you're familiar with, Dennis. Printful. Printful.com. They do that as far as like you can do it on demand and stuff like that.
Right,
But
right.
yeah, I feel like I'm still learning all of these things as well. As far as growing my audience and things like that. Like I said, my main focus is just getting out. As long as I'm getting out, I know that those things are gonna come. But I do have to work on making sure that my team and I are prepared to handle those things when they come, because you don't want to be caught when things come out, you don't want to be unprepared. So yeah, that's one of the things I'm working on. So I'm learning as I'm here with you all as well.
I'm real thankful for y'all. You know what I'm saying? I think we got a lot of value in this podcast episode. It's a grand finale to wrap up a project. I'm actually awaiting confirmation, hopefully, God willing, approval on one more grant, which is specifically designed to set up like a corridor, basically, to bring artists from Canada down to y'all and bring y'all up to us. And that's separate from the open mic series that just got approved. So, prayerfully, if I get there, you three are the first ones on my call, to get y'all up to Canada and properly taken care of. And I really, from the bottom of my heart, Maltios, which is thank you in the Maya Quiche language, all three of y'all for hopping on board for our closing episode and just for the doors you've opened for me, man. You've helped me make my dreams come true, and you help me help others make their dreams come true by just doing everything that y'all do, man. So even though things is not where you might want them to be, like you're somewhere special, man. You know, it's I believe it's answered prayers that we're all
Yeah.
living.
I mean, I want to be clear.
Yeah.
Me and Curtis both don't see the dissolving of the LLC as a negative at all, right? If anything, it was a necessary decision that we had to make, rather than cling on to pride or something that's going
Real
to
talk.
damage our future. You know what I'm saying? Because the entity GrowHouse still exists. You know what I'm saying? It's still a relevant name in our community. We're still putting on great shows, and we're still paying artists to do poetry in places where they don't normally do poetry. So we're still winning on all of our core values that we started the business on, right? But now it's just, all right, we gotta eventually grow up and put our big boy pants on and figure out, if we're gonna make this a business, how are we gonna run this like a business efficiently, successfully and sustainably? You know what I mean? For not just for GrowHouse, but for ourselves as men. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, we got families to provide for. We got health insurance. We all these needs where when you run your own business, you got to figure out how to get all that on your own. So,
And I love too that you kind of included the fact that you didn't see it as a negative, because really it's lessons and experience that allows you to evolve what you're doing and grow it. And like you said, make it be something more sustainable. So it's like, I think people need to recognize that it's like trying and having different lessons that you get along the way is never a failure, but it's really just a stepping stone to your next milestone.
Yeah, one thing I like have learned in delving into entrepreneurship is that every successful entrepreneur that I've met, they didn't have one LLC. Like their first LLC was not the LLC that got them to the point where they're at today. So just like just learning that, like, yeah, it sucks that we had to dissolve it or whatever, but like you were saying, it's a learning lesson, and now we can carry those lessons into the next LLC, to where maybe we're not having to catch up on paying our taxes every freaking quarter, you know. So just yeah, taking those lessons and taking them into the future for bigger and better things, you know.
100%.
Indeed.
Yo, on a spiritual level, you guys just motivated me, because I'm actually in the middle of my P&L statements right now. I'm gonna have to get back to that after this call, because I am gonna exit a business that I made my peace with exiting, because I realize it's just taking a toll on me. It's not adding to my life, but taking away. Art is what's adding to my life, you know, and the ability to create it. So, yeah, thank you for the clarification, Dennis. And I definitely agree. I feel that, you know, like even in my case with exiting, I learned a lot. The skill set you develop as an entrepreneur, having to manage things like an LLC, no school will teach you. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to become a forensic accountant, HR, corporate legal. Like you're doing 75,000 things in one shot to get through the day, basically. So it really, like, do what you love has been the message I've received loud and clear this year from God. Like, you know, not everything got to be a struggle. You know what I'm saying? And there's ways. There's a book I want to recommend all y'all. It's called Real Artists Don't Starve. It really changed my mind on a lot of the ways that I viewed art and the whole myth of the starving artist. And I guess the last thing I'll leave you with is it talked about Dr. Dre's journey, right? Like when and Mark probably knows more in depth about it, but when he left Interscope to found the Aftermath, he lost hundreds of millions, but now he has billions. You know, so he had to walk away. I mean, I don't know if I'm getting the numbers right, Mark. Are you familiar with his whole journey?
Are you talking about when he left Death Row Records?
Death Row Records, yeah, not
Understood.
Interscope, yeah. Yeah, when he left Death Row. Yeah. So when he left Death Row, he had to give up a lot of money, leave a lot of money on the table, but then he was able to begin Aftermath on his own terms, and I think it all worked out for him.
Yeah.
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 Did I get that right, Mike? That was more or less what happened with him?
I don't know too much about his actual history, but I did remember him when he left Death Row. And it kind of reminded me of when Snoop left and then he signed with Master P. And essentially him signing with Master P really taught him about the music business, taught him about entrepreneurship, taught him about how to do things independently. And for me, it made absolute sense because Master P, originally, he had a record store. And once you have a
Mm.
record store, you're understanding the retail aspects of how people sell art. And then he essentially made the art that would then be sold through those retail channels.
Yeah, man.
And
Intentional pivots, man.
Yeah.
Um, what you thinking there, Luno, man? I would like to give y'all the floor to just kind of wrap up. This is a year and a half in the making, this whole thing, and we're closing out with the La Raza BIPOC Access podcast with y'all. So, yeah, man, just some words of motivation for all the emerging, aspiring artists out there listening, wanting to live out their own dreams, man.
Man, the only thing I can tell anybody is just put one foot in front of the other. That's something you and I talk about all the time. You know what I'm saying? Just putting one foot in front of the other. I struggle with it even just as of yesterday. You know, there was open mic I didn't want to necessarily go to, but I showed up and great things happen when I show up. So, you know, just showing up for yourself, allowing yourself to be in spaces that are not always conducive to what you think, you know, allows yourself to open up to different people, different audiences. Um, just be your true self, man, and just live, man. I mean, that's
Mm.
what we're here. Live the art that you're portraying, and share the art because it's been given to you to for a reason. And as long as you're doing those things, great things will happen. I'm just thankful to be in a space with each and every one of you. I feel like I've connected with you all in different ways. And you know, looking forward to I have an opportunity to connect in person. But it's all love, man. I'm just thankful.
I
God is
wanted to
good.
actually ask you all this one last question. Have you all ever been through like a writer's block or kind of like a creative block in terms of being able to write your poetry? And if you have, like, what do you find are those things that help you get back into that flow state?
I can tell you for me, it happens. It has happened quite often. Well, I would say last year, I think was probably the longest that I can recall. Just feeling as though that I wasn't able to um, get anything out. But life, what I've realized is that you have to allow life to happen to you, and as you allow life to happen to you and you embrace the things that you're going through, things are gonna naturally flow out. I try not to force it. It takes me a very long time. I don't know anybody else here writing process, but it takes me a very long time to write poems. Because of that fact that I don't force it. If I feel it in that moment, I'm writing it until I feel like it's there, you know. And if it's not, then I'll allow it. I'll allow myself to come back to it. Um, but yeah, I've gone through that, and I think last year I had a lot going on personally, a lot of great things. So I was sitting in that in space of gratitude and allowing the time to pass in order for me to really get it out um, authentically.
Yes.
So yeah, that's kind of it for me.
Yeah, I'll answer. For me, I have sorry, I have a little trick that I like to try and that I'd like to do. Oh my goodness.
Now you
One
good. Jasper wants to be in the
Just was
podcast.
good, yeah.
We got space for Jasper.
um I like to do this thing I coined music to my gears, where I put on music and I write to the music free flow, try not to think as much as possible and just let it flow. But the trick is every time the song changes, you draw a line on your page and start from a very new thought. So
Mm,
it's a way of breaking out of that writer's block, and not getting stuck on one thought. So when that music changes, like start completely over and use the music as inspiration. And then later on, you can go back and either expand on those short poems and make them full poems, or a fun thing for me is to try and find ways to connect them all together, um, and create a poem that way. uh, so that, and then like what El Uno said, letting life happen to you. Um, One of my biggest mentor, he told me life happens in seasons, and sometimes you just gotta go through some things before you can write about it. So just letting life happen and experiencing new things. And then the last thing I'll say is, like, I'm a just all around creative. So sometimes your creativity is drawing you other places than other than poetry. So just letting your creativity take you where it wants to go, rather than like you having to feel like you gotta stick to this one thing because that's what you said you are. If you're creative, we're meant to create, and so just do that, and then the writing it'll come back at some point. you know.
I appreciate you both sharing that. What about you,
I
Spin?
I actually I'm really glad you asked that, Mark. And I actually had not written for a while because life was lifing, and I have the privilege of being out in Cree territory right now. And I wrote a poem that I want to share because I'm big enough GrowHouse in the poem. And it's kind of like this poem kind of came together both from what El Uno and Curtis shared. Like I just let life happen. I was absorbing, I was conceptualizing, and then I tend to all of my poems tend to be written to one song on repeat, written, conceptualized, edited, and I had the Skywalker song with Miguel and Travis Scott. It just kind of gave me like a swag, and I put this poem together. And there's a lot of words in this poem that I'm going to read to y'all that's in Cree, in the language of the Cree people. It's 7,000-year-old civilization out here. So, yeah, I think I want to close out by sharing this, if y'all will indulge me.
Of course, man.
100%.
I think it's a nice close to
Sure.
it all. I used to pray for all of these poetry bookings. My art got me touring internationally now. I took in Cree, northern mainland to coastal to Florida. $1,000 slam poetry competitions in Ottawa. I ate that food on the regular. Who would have imagined when I first put pen to paper that I'd shine my light so bright the shade from the haters couldn't touch me? I stay connected to the land. Iuishchi, Namaitin Atayanut, Niwaitin Atukshinyat, Nimsinhigan Atuk, Ya Nimsinhigan, Nifstinagwan Musha, Jaji Ninsinhijayan. I feel free here. I am in Quebec learning a new language, and it ain't French. Cree Nation, 1/3 of the landmass of this province, 400,000 square kilometers, over 7,000 years caretaking the land before the colonizers arrived. And I used to worry that these toxic Canadian poets didn't like me. All because I wouldn't conform to these goofballs trying to deplatform this refugee who became his own prodigy, landed the grant money, built his own community, and worked so hard to live out his dreams, he ended up helping others live theirs. Shout out to GrowHouse. I never had to lie to kick it. I'm still good with the real me. I shifted all of that hate into this clean heart of mine. Got the babies in EU Ishchi telling me they fought off depression with my rhymes, and I used to worry these toxic Canadian poets didn't like me. So, what matters most? The opinion of these losers who imploded a national slam poetry scene, or the love from the babies living in remote communities that these losers have never seen? I will always be with the babies. Iuishchi, Chiwatmatin. I see you. Ah,
Let's go. That was fire.
Yeah, man.
yo,
Oh
man.
man,
Hell yeah.
you hit it on the
I feel
head, man.
accomplished, man. I'm going to love writing
Yeah,
this report.
you hit it on the head, man. It's like, and I'm sorry, I just real quick, man. Like,
Yeah, please.
you never know who you're gonna impact. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And it's always, the people who you don't think. And that's why we have to continue doing what we're doing, because there's people out here that we're touching that we have no idea. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, that was powerful, bro.
Yeah,
Thank you
we
for
all
that.
here on Random Encounters. Mark and I met at a show I had at York University through a mutual friend, over 20 years ago, Mark.
Yeah, definitely.
Dang.
Wow.
Wild. Yeah, Curtis just saw me walk into the orientation all dreamy eyed about making the team.
No, you had a look
Yeah,
of
man.
determination.
Oh yeah, it was funny because some of the guys were like talking smack at the start of the slams, and I was like, I'm about to tear y'all up, but I just kept quiet. I wasn't trying to. That's the part I don't like about slam, like the kind of like trying to throw people off their game or whatever. Like it's sportsmanship. It happens, but yeah, I'm there on a mission, man. I wanted to make this team. I want to go represent. I did actually. I want to say this. Curtis would always have this like proud father look when he was looking at us. But the first day that we got to Southern Fried, I tanked, bro. I fucked up so bad. I got the lowest score of the night, and I was trying to see if Curtis was giving me the proud father look, and Curtis like. But Dennis gave me a real good talk, because I was depressed. I was ready to quit. I was like, damn, this is terrible. It's kind of what Curtis was talking about earlier. And my queen and I, we prayed over it. And I went the next morning to the Slam Masters meeting, and I just got involved. And then the second night, I actually got the highest score of the night, doing a poem honoring my mom and just keeping it authentic. So, yeah, man, Slam is a good training ground. It'll humble you, but I recommend it, man, as long as you're with good people. All y'all is good people.
Hey, that's the key.
And Mark, what you do with writer's block? You ever have your creative blocks? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Sometimes I've had, but it's kind of to the same thing that you guys were talking about. For me, it was just about being present, not forcing it. It's like the more pressure that you put on yourself, it never really brings it back to you. For me, it's being in that like present state and kind of just allowing it to flow through me, like just being a vessel for creativity.
Word. Well, my brother, it's been a journey. This is gonna conclude our project once we get this podcast out and ready. I'd like to give you, brother, the closing words of this enormous monster of a journey we got ourselves into. What are your thoughts and reflections, man?
Oh man, like I said, I'm lost for words because I'm just so happy. This was a powerful meeting, powerful podcast. So many things that I've taken from this. So, like I said, I'm just hoping that we can connect, man. Hopefully in person one of these days. I feel like a lot of great things will come from this. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what's going on. And Kurt, since you the DJ, I want definitely. I ain't gonna disrespect you and say I want to see your playlist, but I definitely know you got some joints. You definitely sound like you know your music, man. So I'm looking forward to meeting you too, bro.
Likewise, bro.
Before we wrap it, I wanted to give both of you an opportunity to share your websites or socials. Where can people find more about you, and where can they check out your art?
For myself, I'm on all social media platforms. El Uno Speaks. That's ELUNO Speaks. The website is up as well, so it's elunospeaks.com. And find me wherever, man. I'm out here. I'm outside.
And we appreciate everyone who coming on to this podcast today, taking the time to connect with us and being patient while we got set up as well. I think, like everyone said, this was a great conversation. You guys were also very open, very vulnerable to really speak about things that you've been through and provide insights to others who may try to go down those same roads and paths. So that's honestly invaluable information to be able to provide to people to maybe help their journey be a bit smoother. So this was an amazing project. Thank you, Spin, for involving me in this project as well. And this is the final episode of La Raza BIPOC Access Podcast. I hope that R was rolled just enough for you, Spin.
Nailed it, brother. You nailed it.